72.
All right, let's get started. Webster County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024. Roll call, Margot Knipple, I am here. Heather Lade.
Here.
Laura Kelly. Is Laura zooming in tonight? Okay. We will show her as absent at this time. Gary Nelson.
Here.
Tommy Coleman.
Here.
Tommy Smith.
Here.
And Arlen Gorachowski is absent. All right, item 2, review and approval of the minutes from the December 12th, 2023 meeting. If everyone's had that opportunity to review, if there are no changes or questions or comments, I'll ask for a motion to approve minutes.
Almost.
A motion, I have a motion from Gary. And do I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
All right, Tommy, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That passes unanimous. And those are approved. So far. All right, new business, appointing a chairperson and a vice chairperson for 2024. We'll open that up. Anybody? Any ideas?
My vote is for you for chairperson.
That's the quickest second I've seen.
That was fast. That was fast.
Fighting over it.
Well.
Unless
thank-
you guys
thank-
are opposed to it, I'm okay with it.
So thank you. I mean, yeah.
You're okay with it?
I-
Happy, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm
You're
fine
okay
with it. I'm just,
I
if
agree.
you guys get tired of
That's
listening to me, please
Uh,
say so.
Fantastic job.
Okay.
I agree.
All right. So how about, we entertain the motion for, I guess, myself as chairperson and Gary as vice chairperson for the 2024 year. Would you like roll call vote on that?
Sure.
Okay, roll call vote. I will vote yes. Tyler,
Yes.
or is absent Gary?
Yes.
Tommy Coleman?
Yes.
Tommy Smith?
Yes.
All right, we have a unanimous yes vote for all of our attending members. Thank you for your vote of confidence.
Absolutely. As long as you guys want to keep doing it.
Yeah. I just, and for the record, we're all equal members. And I tell the public that all the time. Everyone here, we're all equal members. There's no hierarchy. There's no, our newer members bring just as much to the table as those of us that have been here for a while. And to me, that's hugely important. And I appreciate you guys' feedback. I think, and I don't know, Jeff, in your time period here, it's probably one of the best boards that we've had.
I 100% agree.
Yeah,
I believe it's gotten better and better and better, to be
Yeah,
honest with you.
I do
Yep,
too.
it's just more knowledge, more, you guys are a very valuable asset to the community. So we
And-
appreciate your dedication, and some of you guys have, renewed and renewed, which I appreciate. Makes my life easier and everyone else's life easier. So
and I
yeah, we're
definitely.
blessed. So very blessed.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate, like I said, it's nice to get that younger perspective, and you guys really bring a lot to, Laura and Arlen
Yeah.
also bring a lot to the table with your ideas and things that I don't think about.
You
so.
guys listen to it. You listen to the public well, you handle things wonderfully, and you're well educated. I mean, I've seen a lot of people in my days from various boards, but I have to admit, you guys don't really know what you guys are doing. So it's definite benefit for this group. So
Yeah, and not to disparage past board members, but
No.
it's nice to have members who show up and they know what we're doing. They're on task. They aren't afraid to ask questions. They aren't afraid to make comments. They're not afraid to talk to the public. And in the past, we've had some board members that maybe didn't quite fill all those categories. So definitely appreciate all of you guys. So thank you. All right, Jeff, we have a staff presentation, planning and zoning and environmental health permitting activities for 2023.
yes, I'll have Allison present this. This is, our yearly, presentation on our permitting and, what was done in 2023. And go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, okay, so 2023. It will, that'd be great. There we go. So just stuck with the 5-year trends again, so that way you can kind of see, where we're at. For main structures, those are our residential, homes. or single family dwellings, we did have a decrease, just about by 4. And then accessory structures, those are everything from an addition, a shed, things along those lines. And then these are just for residential, they're not for any commercial or anything along those lines. For non-residential trends, we didn't have much of anything. We had a few temporary structures, but as far as any commercial buildings, we didn't have any in 2023, so that was kind of a hit, and you can see too, our revenue did decrease significantly, in 2023. And we all know why that is, inflation, people just aren't building right now with the prices of everything, but
I think it's the inflation and the interest rates.
Yeah, I
It's-
was
it's-
gonna say,
it's-
interest rates. and-
yeah, the interest-
So
yeah.
here where you're getting money, then
Yeah.
now.
exactly,
But I am
exactly.
hearing news that, the materials are coming down, for the builders and, yeah, so,
And
It's just-
hopefully if interest rates come down,
yep,
and I think that's forecast for the
that's
next year.
forecast to come down, so I think the environment should improve and it's not horrible, but it is,
It's not, yeah, it's not ideal, but it's doable, we're making it work, and there'll be a turnaround.
yeah, so, yeah, in our budget this year, we have, 20,000.
Yeah, I think our budget, our projected revenue,
Revenue.
we went down about 10,000.
Yeah.
From what we projected for this fiscal year. And then well services, as you guys know, and planning and zoning took over the responsibility of environmental health, and one of our big areas is well testing. Also well renovation, plugging, and any new wells that have been drilled. And started July 1st of 2022. Last year was our full official year. And my plan for that is only for the numbers to go up and keep testing as many wells as we can. And same for plugging and renovations too, really trying to get any wells that are in pits brought up to code and have the casing above grade to prevent any, contaminants.
Nice job on that, Allison. I know
Yeah.
Thank you.
you spearhead all that.
Thank you. And then this is just the revenue where, while we're building permits might be, down and the revenue down there too, we're making up for it here and, with the well services, as you can see, 2023 is just, it has gone up, and again, 24 plan on the same. And then for, private sewage disposal systems, so septic systems, this year 2023, we installed 53, 12 of them would be considered an alternative system, so a cocoa filter, biofilter, sand filter, not the traditional soil absorption. So we did a few of those, and how we figure those out is all based on the soil and what the soil tells me if we can put a standard absorption system in. Average tank size was about 1,300, so about 4-bedroom houses. So, yeah, that's really kind of where we're at for 2023.
Allison, can I ask a question? Can you go back a slide? Where does the well revenue or the well service revenue come from? Is that from the state with the well
Yep.
testing?
Yeah, so it's a grant that Iowa has called Grants to Counties. It started about in the 90s.
Okay.
Or sorry, the 80s, and the whole point of it was to protect our groundwater. We're an agriculture community, and protect it against any farm chemicals and things like that, so chemical companies that they use for farm ground, they have to pay a fee, and that fee goes to our grant, and all the counties, as far as I know, participate in it. We're the only one who's used all of our funds so far this year.
How
But we're getting
often are
more.
you supposed to test as well?
You're supposed to have it's recommended to have your well tested annually, so when I took over, I went township by township and sent everyone a postcard to, have their well tested. If they reached out to me, then now they're on an automatic system. It's in my calendar to do it annually, so that way people don't have to call in and schedule that. Yours is coming up.
It's super easy. And I'll just
Yeah.
say she did mine, my dad's and my brother's. It's 10-15 minute process.
Mhm. I was supposed to do yours, but then I got busy. Yours is also on my list. I got a while for you.
And I think it's
Okay.
a great thing you're providing to,
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's, for people that I farm right behind where I live, and to know that I'm not putting anything into the water my kids and I are drinking is a nice relief, so appreciate you guys.
For a few years, it looks like it slipped through the cracks here.
Yeah, that was all when, the responsibilities were under public health. I can't speak for what they were doing, I don't know, but I just took it and ran with it. There was money involved, so.
I think when you were hired, Jeff, that was one of the things that we were gonna try and do with planning and zoning was to kind of get some of those services that weren't being fully utilized, that was public health, and you kind of take
Well,
charge of it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That was in. Matter of fact, that was like the first month or two, I remember coming in here and asking Mark Campbell's like, why isn't this program
Yeah.
under, we're permitting the house and everything else, and it's like,
And a lot of that too is because kind of standard over the state, the environmental health officer is housed in public health. I know I have to go to Board of Health meetings to get certain, like, the ordinance that we passed for septic systems, and health regulations and things like that. It has to get approved for the Board of Health first before I can get approved from the Board of Supervisors. So I still have to go through them, but that's usually kind of where it's environmental health has always been, and that's all over the state.
yeah, and that's good. I mean, this program meshes so well with planning and permitting.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
more so than, of course, the public health aspect is very important, so.
Do you have an idea roughly of how many wells you have tested
Last year was 351,
and how many wells roughly are there in the county?
about 2,000.
So there's a lot of
Mhm.
People that don't.
room for growth. to do that.
Oh, yeah, there
I
is.
just talked to somebody in Sac City that bought a place and was telling, they have a well, and I was telling them about
Mhm.
Webster County doing it. She was like, I'm gonna look in to see if they'll do that for us too. She's like, that would be great if somebody did that.
Yeah, and as long as they have an environmental health officer, they should do it. It's something, I mean, I just was in a webinar yesterday with all the environmental health officers around Webster, or around the state, telling them what our improvements are and how we've been, seeing these numbers, because there are a lot of states that don't push it, or not states, sorry, counties that don't push it the way that we do.
Is there any thought of, with there being that many wells, possibility of extra headcount in order to have somebody specifically doing wells?
I would love that one day, but that is not gonna happen. But we did kick around the idea of trying to get a summer intern and possibly splitting it with, conservation, because they do have an intern.
Yeah.
But I think with what's going on with the county financially right now, it's just not gonna happen, so. I'm just not really in the office, probably starting next week until it's freezing again.
Yeah.
And the stuff that you're doing is strictly residential.
As long as it's considered a private well, so there are some commercial properties out there that they have a private well.
Mhm.
As long as it doesn't, a well isn't being utilized for more than, I think, 12 to 15 houses, then it's considered a private well. Or so many, capacity wise, then it's considered private, and that's all that they do. But if it's a public well, then they have to deal with the DNR, and I don't know what they do as far as testing with that.
Okay. Okay. It's interesting. I guess I was trying to think of like some of the housing additions. Like, west of Fort Dodge.
Oh, like,
Shaker.
Kennedy, or just west of Kennedy, Lakewood. just
Yep.
north of
Oh,
those
yeah,
houses,
there you
those
go,
shared-
those.
There's like 8 houses.
yeah,
that
there's
share
a couple
well.
that are on
Shared
shared,
wells.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are a few people that are on shared wells. I believe that one out there, because how many houses are on it, it's considered a public well, so I don't do the testing for that.
Okay,
No, but if it's, I know there's some out in, Colville, where there's 10 houses on one well, that's considered private, so I do the testing for that.
okay. And have you received any pushback from any
No, not at
property
all,
owners?
no, not at all.
Good. Good deal.
Would it be worth? Just an idea. I know you said with salary and getting somebody else or whatever, would it be worth seeing if we could do something with the DNR, with Iowa State as an internship that they got credit for?
We're working on it. I know, Iowa Environmental, or yeah, the Iowa Environmental Health Association, they have people for interns that they're trying to find jobs for. I just have to basically write what their job description would be. And then they can come and be an intern for us, and it all comes out of IEHA's funding,
Not to give you more
Mhm.
work, I just thought.
Yeah.
that would be
Nope,
another avenue to help
it is,
you.
it is on my radar. It's something that.
No,
once
we wanted to
things-
go really aggressive with it, and but the feedback we're getting from the board is tighten everything up, so.
Yeah, but the IEHA internships, and that they're trying to find, jobs for these interns, it is something that I'm working with, DMAC on, one of the gals who, she runs the onsite wastewater program through DMAC. I'm on the committee with her to help expand that program, and she's been helping me basically build up what the internship would be and just trying to find time for the both of us to sit down and
I think you do a
Right.
great
Yeah.
job. Just figured
I would-
if
I
it
would
was
love
something
more-
you could get somebody
I
to
would
help
love
you
more
out, it
help
would be-
because one,
Even for like a couple months.
exactly, I would
Oh,
love
yeah.
it because
You know,
the more
go full
wells we
bore on it.
test, one, people are more aware of it. But every well that we test, we get reimbursed the cost of the well, which averages about $60 to $65. The state reimburses us for that, plus an additional $60 for administration fees. So it is bringing in revenue for the county. So
Mhm.
obviously I want to make sure everybody has safe drinking water, but at the same time, the more money we can generate for the county, the more I want to do.
Well, that's kind of where I was going with having an extra head count, because that
Yeah.
sounds to me like that would pay for. the extra
Itself,
person.
yeah. We decided this year to go for a new car instead of help, cause my car is, sorry, planning and zoning vehicle. It had seen better days. It's seen better days.
Get one of the old county spud cars.
That's what it is.
Oh, yeah, that's
And the
fine.
steering locks up on me often when I'm driving it. It's not safe. So we're working on it. I'd really like to tap into that IEHA internships. That way they're funding it and not us just figuring out the pieces and what can make it work.
How's your response for your postcards and so on?
Oh, they're great. Yeah, no, they're great. I get a lot of people call. I haven't sent out much recently because I did get through the whole county and all the townships. So now that I have a bit of downtime, I'm gonna start going through those again, sending them out again if they didn't get their well tested last year. If they got their well tested last year, they're already automatically on my list, so I'm not gonna send them a reminder.
Do you get reimbursed every year you do it?
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's a great database to set up if you can do that.
It was only 3 days out of the week she can test.
Yeah, I can only test them Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday.
So, you know, depending on the weather, she might be down a day or 2 days or whatever, or a week could be obliterated, you know, and it's just like,
Why is that?
Just because of the holding times that the lab has,
Oh,
so we have to mail them
okay.
to Ellsworth. I have been in conversations with Iowa State. They're building that new fuel testing lab out by Tom Thumb and possibly expanding it to water testing. That's something that they were
Really?
considering doing.
That's interesting.
They wanna see where they're at with the fuel testing before they, expand to water testing. But it is on their radar. It is something that I would like to see in like the next 5 years or so. That way I don't have to send it. It could save some postage. It's all right there and we're keeping, you know, we have to pay for this, the lab to run the tests on it. I would rather keep those dollars in the county versus going somewhere else.
Sure. That's,
I agree. I think it's a great program. It shows that what you're doing is working, so.
and still good feedback from the board of supervisors. I mean, for them, it's a selling point for the county. You know, I mean, it's just what you've done in the last couple of years. I mean, that's one of those proactive things and that I think is a good selling
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, no, I've had great support from the board, as
Good.
far as what I do and changes I want to make and how aggressive I want to be with the well testing and whatnot. I have had nothing but support from them.
Good.
I think the only thing downside that some of them have said is the same as Jeff is don't burn yourself out. But that just comes second nature to me apparently, so,
Well, yeah, no, we don't want you to burn
Yeah.
yourself out, that's for sure.
yeah,
I
but no,
think
I love it.
the
I love
intern avenue is a really good.
Exactly. The only thing that makes me a little sad about an intern is I love being out in the field. Do you know how many dogs I've met? I've met so many dogs and people and yeah, I love how many people I've met going out in the field and I meet so many dogs. Sometimes I bring dog treats and I have to let the water run for so long before I can collect the sample. So I'll play fetch with the dog while I'm waiting and
No, it just seems positive all the way around and, you know, like I said, just more positive selling point
Mhm.
for the county, so that's excellent. Great, yeah, but I do like the intern thing, that's just really, that would be.
yeah, we're working on it.
Really good way to go.
well, the shared would be perfect. We can keep them busy Monday,
yeah.
early in the week, and then we could, you know.
Exactly.
ship 'em
And
off
that's
to
something
Parks or somebody else, you know.
Exactly, and that's something that I'm working with Amy, the gal from DMAC with is, you know, the county already has an internship as far as parks go.
Yeah,
But if we can incorporate that IEHA intern to environmental health and parks, and it wouldn't cost the county any dollars because it all comes from IEHA funding and not Webster County.
Can an intern like that share counties? If other counties, any of the surrounding counties were doing a similar program like you're doing,
I don't see why they wouldn't. I think it just depends on how much work that county has for them.
okay, okay.
That's an option too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, to split an intern, work so many days for Webster County, so many for.
And I know there are, what is it, Humboldt and Pocahontas County, they only have one of me. They share, there are counties who only have one environmental health officer and they share with somebody else, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
see why it wouldn't be an
Maybe
option.
the counties could collaborate, maybe share an intern between counties, they're all doing the same thing.
Oh, exactly, and it's not a bad idea, and then I know the state with the grant, that would get the grant more exposure too, and that's
Yeah.
really why they had me talk at the webinar on Monday, was to get more
And maybe
exposure.
they can test on Thursday, Fridays.
Yeah.
That would be a problem if they were just limited to those
Mhm.
days, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, even any sort of sharing,
Yeah.
since
Oh,
since
yeah.
the dollars are county specific,
Mhm.
share that intern around to a couple of counties and, that'll help boost up our surrounding counties.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Great job, Allison.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
All right. Jeff, do you have some discussion for administrative variances for us?
Yes, so we briefly touched on this last meeting without, and made you aware we were gonna schedule this for discussion before we brought forth an ordinance amendment. It's just the right thing to do, and that's to make sure that staff is moving in the right direction, or if this is the direction we don't wanna go, but, so currently the zoning ordinance outlines the criteria to process a variance. It's an application, a supplement, obviously a variance is a dimensional relief from the code for a structure. Could be a fence, could be a building, et cetera. So all variances, the way it's written now, would go through the Board of Adjustments. It'd be a public hearing. All property owners within 500 feet would be notified, and then they would go ahead and review the staff report and make a final decision. Their decision's final. So the administrative variance process, you see it a little bit in Iowa, but in Florida and in Minnesota where I've worked, it's written in a lot of their city codes and county ordinances. And what that does is give minimal relief, and it can be reviewed and granted administratively as opposed to going to the Board of Adjustments. And typically, what we're talking about is dimensional relief that's less than 10%. And the way I have it written here is not to exceed 5 feet, whichever is less. So we do have the criteria that's already outlined that they'd have to meet. If an application was to come in for an administrative variance, let's say they wanted 6 inches or a foot relief, then it would be reviewed, a staff report would be prepared. But I would say take an application with a fee, and then planning and zoning administrator would make the final decision on that. And if they don't like my decision, of course, there's always an appeal process if they didn't like that at all. So it's just another tool in the toolbox that I'd like to have. I've been here, I think we talked about this for 4 years, and we've processed one variance. And that's all I've had so far. But you do get the phone calls where something is, we do have a survey here and we are encroaching 8 inches, it's like, how can we cure this, and this would seem to be the best bet, would be just to do administrative variance. We're talking about something that's so minuscule. So just putting this in front of you, if you have any issues or concerns, what we would do is come back next time with a full amendment to the ordinance for the public hearing for your review. And then that would be moved forward to the Board of Supervisors, so,
Have you had any discussions with county attorney on that?
yes.
And his
He hasn't,
comments are,
he hasn't said anything. I've given him actually, this is actually the ordinance language, the draft ordinance language, and he's taking a look at that already. And I wanted to make sure that he didn't have any issues or concerns up front. As a possible deal killer, no, we shouldn't be doing administrative variances in this county, so.
I I don't have any problems. I'm sorry.
Basically just to kind of streamline it so it is an easier process if someone comes and. the
Yeah.
difference
It's the
is 8
small,
inches,
small, yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can- Instead of
Yeah.
stopping the project for 8 inches, we'll give you
Yeah.
that 8 inches.
Sometimes the stuff comes up at closing and they need to close on it and stuff's so minuscule and it's like, oh, you know what, you're gonna have to wait a month and a half for a board meeting and, you know, I've seen that happen quite a bit instead.
What kind of a fee would you estimate that you?
Well, right now we take in, I believe our variance fee is $400 for administrative variance would probably be, I'd have to analyze a little bit closer, probably 150, because, you know, and they're not going through that whole public hearing
Right.
process with staff time. Staff time is reduced. So,
It just is a less of a burden on the person that's already spent money doing something. And I've had to go through that before. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden I got a $400 bill, just for these guys to look at this for 2 minutes is.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm a firm believer and we had this discussion, we were talking with the board of supervisors with our budget. And we want to go back and look at our fee schedule, you know, and take a look at the actual time that we have involved in these, petitions. Some, I told them, some may go up, some may go down, but the actual time, her rate, my rate, and whoever actually touches that petition, if engineering has to look at it. And, cause I believe some of them are relatively low. You know, if the county's looking at trying to, you know, get some revenue, and if we are in a budget crunch, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, then we'll, you know, need to take a look at that fee schedule. But yeah, we don't wanna charge above and beyond that at all. We wanna make sure actual staff time that's involved and it's not fair, you know, if we, you know, just charge it.
No, I feel like that's a fair charge.
Yeah, it's a real fair charge, yeah, so.
Have you discussed this with Board of Supervisors yet, or? Any
A little
comments
bit,
from
yeah,
them?
just a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
No comments. I said I'd be running it through you guys, yeah, and so the
Okay,
next meeting we'll have a public hearing, the county attorney will draft the amendment, ready to take a look at. So forth, so,
I mean, I'm fine with less is more, you know, I mean, like you said, if it's a 6 inches or something,
well. you-
us getting together or
Yeah.
the Board of Adjustment is not going to. I don't see that being a major issue. Now, if it's, you know, obviously if it's a big issue, if it's a major signage issue, you know, major structure issue, obviously, Board of Adjustment, and, you know, it sounds like we haven't had many of those anyway.
Well, I kept it, you know, we can still talk more. I mean, this is all preliminary, but this wouldn't pertain to signage.
Okay,
They were just, you know, really keeping it to the setbacks, lot width and depth and building height.
I-
And just, you know, those specific things. We can, you know, you can take a look at that and your input of, hey, or if you want to include signage, you know, but. You know.
I guess I'm
that's a
just
square
thinking of
foot.
past issues
Yeah.
where some people got really upset and they went through, you know, Board of Adjustment. And I wanna say there was this big signage issue somewhere, and, you know, people were upset about it. And, you know, obviously something like that, something that's gonna have a huge impact on everybody else. That's obviously something that we should let go
Well,
of Board of Adjustment, something, like you said, like 6 inches, oh no. I mean, that's gonna have zero impact on anyone else.
Mhm.
Except for the person that it affects.
Yeah,
Right, and if
except
you
for the
have your
person that it
neighbors that are
affects.
okay with, you know,
Yeah,
going, you know,
yeah.
then something simple like that is much easier than waiting a month and a half and going to the Board of Adjustment.
Oh,
Yeah, signage is a
absolutely.
whole different animal, but yeah, let's say if we did have an issue with signage, my recommendation would take a look at the sign requirements. Maybe we need to amend them first before we start going through,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And maybe we don't need to amend them. It's like, okay, you know, okay, we know we're happy with that square footage allowance or whatever it may be they're trying to get relief from.
Yeah.
So, there's so many scenarios and so many different things out there, so.
and this was years ago that, and I wish I could remember the signage issue, but I remember, I remember discussing the differences between being on Planning and Zoning Board or being on Board of Adjustment, and the one major difference was that members of the Board of Adjustment usually got sued for things.
Jeez.
And it was like, oh, there's a big difference, but no, something small like that, I mean, yeah,
Small stuff.
let's streamline, let's make things easier. I have no problem with something like this.
The general public's gonna appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's wrong. And if our numbers are going down for permits of people building, why make it more difficult for people? We can
exactly.
streamline it a little bit. Instead of 400, it's 150 or whatever, and we can say it's 25% or whatever, and we can continue it going. I think it's a win-win.
The companies that put up signs, are they aware of the ordinances and stuff? So they
There
know,
are sign ordinances out there, yeah, oh, yeah.
they should be, you know, so they, can't place.
And we haven't had any board of adjustments. I mean,
We
Not
didn't
this
have any
year.
meetings
No
last
issues.
year.
Is it-
Yeah,
No, we
no,
had
this-
one,
More on it? I don't
we had
think she's any.
we had one last year. I forget what the issue was, but we did have one.
Oh, Colville. For,
Oh, yeah,
for, the Colville Pop and Shop.
yeah.
They-
Yeah,
That
Laura's,
was-
Laura's
that-
on that. I don't think she said one thing.
Mhm. But at the same time, like Jeff said, it's okay not to have Board of Adjustments hearings, cause then we're
exactly.
not,
It's a good
then we're not
Yeah.
bending our ordinance and
Yeah.
doing these things, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, that's,
But they do hear conditional use permits too, you know, I mean, yeah, you're gonna get some of those, I mean, but it's, market dictates that, so.
isn't that the sign of a good?
That means you got a lot of stuff coming in.
No,
So it's a sign of a good ordinance.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
sign of a good ordinance.
Means you're
that you
doing a
don't
good
have-
job, Jeff.
You don't have a lot of Board of Adjustment meetings.
Yeah,
I mean, that means your
exactly.
ordinance is there, your ordinance is working. And I think adding this layer of an administrative variance is, yeah, just make things faster. Have you worked with that in Florida? Did you
Yep,
work
the
with
administrative variance
variances?
process, yep.
Okay, do you ever have any issues with it
No
there?
issues, no.
Okay,
No. It's just a nice tool to have when you have small little things that come up and you get them taken care of, so they don't have to sit for a couple months, you know?
yeah, no, I,
When you're building something, time is money, so you wanna get it.
Oh,
done
yeah.
fast.
Yeah. so-
yeah. And we don't want to be that county that, oh man, it's so hard to
Wait, you gotta
build.
wait.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you gotta
Yeah.
wait and you gotta get this, jump through all the hoops first and.
Let's wait 2 months to
Yeah.
talk about it.
It's the easiest way for somebody to back out of stuff.
Oh, yeah, especially if it's easier to go to another county or go
Yep.
someplace else and you can get your job done faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally don't have a problem with
Okay,
it. Are you, would you like a vote or anything on that tonight?
No, it's just,
Okay,
yeah,
it's
it's
discussion.
all, we just move forward and then,
Okay.
yeah, we'll come
Okay.
back, next month with a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we're done with that topic, I just wanna go ahead and talk about some of the things that are going on in the department.
Sure.
Yeah, real quick here, no particular order. Do. So we plan on being back at the courthouse probably April or May.
Okay,
And so then our meetings, will be shifted over there. Depending on what's going on, obviously in the chambers or downstairs, but, that's kind of the goal. Just pay attention and we'll try to notify you. You know, we always advertise like the agenda where it's gonna be here, but we'll let you know, hey, that has changed. Just somehow other housekeeping items. The $30 per meeting allotment that usually gets paid after the first of the year now is getting paid once a year at the end of the fiscal year, right, Allison? So you'll be, I'm just an FYI, yeah. I just wanted to make sure, yeah, that all those will come out in July. So we do have another rezoning case that was submitted down south on 350th Street, way east on the county, close to the county line there. It's another property that has a low CSR rating and it's highly vegetative. We don't have to follow that.
No, I'm not.
But it's adjacent to A2. It's going from A1 to A2. That's gonna be processed and you'll be seeing that probably in April. I mean, I'd usually get it done earlier, but the applicant had some scheduling conflicts and we're looking at April on that one. So another thing that's, we're having a pre-application meeting early next week with Dave Bianchi, and he's acquired. Oh, there we go.
Unplug.
Did I plug something on?
Yes, you unplugged the owl.
No, so this is the 10 acres he's acquired, these parcels up here. And so he is having discussions with us, he's gonna run a corner road in here. But this is all zoned R2, has the entitlements with the R2, 10,000 square foot lot. What we'll have to do is get, letters from the utility providers. Water, sewer, electric, that there's capacity available to serve, this subdivision. So, it's roughly somewhere right around 13, 14 lots. You'll see, so they'll come through preliminary plat that comes through you guys. Thanks. And, yeah, and I believe the final plat comes back to you guys. No, for sure the preliminary comes through. You have to look at the code, but, and then, and we'll go from there. So, let me see here. What else do I have on the list here? That's it. That's all I've got, just to get you up to date on what's going on in activities.
So I do, oh, never mind, we'll have time.
What's that?
Well, I was curious about the February meeting. It's on the 13th, so we'll have time to do a, notice in the paper for
Yep.
the legal. Okay. That's with this meeting being later in the main intention.
Yeah,
So we're still gonna do a February meeting then.
yeah, we're gonna do a February meeting.
Okay.
The 13th, I think, thing.
We should, that would be our regular meeting time.
Yeah, and then either in March or April, we'll have a comp plan discussion about some of the implementation of some of those goals, policies, objectives, and a lot of those are market driven, but we'll wrap our arms around some of that stuff and kind of what your thoughts and ideas are on, the future and the future planning of the county and what we want to look at and what we want to entertain. So I think it's a very valuable discussion that we'll have, spend some time and guys might want to give me some marching orders. Hey, let's look at this, or let's not look at this, or whatever. And I'll look at it too, what we're gonna be discussing, and I'll bring forth some ideas and we'll see.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On this one. I live right there, so it's not gonna get me, but is he planning on doing two roads, do you know?
One coming in,
One coming in and coming out, because there's. So right
Well-
there, and then on the other side,
I think initially,
he has a road there already.
yeah, it's gonna come in and loop around this way.
And not come out that, because there's a,
Mm-mm.
well, and well,
that would be the county.
it's very important what you just said. Because,
Because there's an opening right
yeah,
there.
and this
Yep.
lot, he included this in the preliminary plat.
Mhm.
We'll have some discussions on this. My feeling is take this out.
Okay.
Well, or else leave it in for access.
Yeah.
So we have, for emergency vehicles. I think we're gonna have to wanna have EMS pipe in on this. But he's definitely coming in like this, going back here. And whether or not this is a permanent cul-de-sac or a temporary cul-de-sac, because this is gonna develop.
Sure.
Or down the road, you could put a temporary in and then just blow this open, knowing that this is gonna connect in the future, right here.
Yeah.
Or there'll be some type of connection. So I can't answer that if that's a concern to EMS, if they just come back here and then build a full-blown cul-de-sac here without, 2 points of access. It's very small, but you're right, what happens if something was to happen to this access? It's an issue, but knowing that if this is temporary, you'd have access somewhere down the line.
Are you looking for my house?
Yeah, you're further down this way,
Yeah,
don't you?
come around that other way,
Zoom back.
farther down,
Down to the right.
to the right.
To the right, I thought you were on Circle Drive.
I am right there, so next to
Oh, you're that house, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
it.
Just down,
That one.
Yeah,
all down. There he is.
yeah.
What do you want?
Go up here. Or zoom out, zoom out.
What was it for?
There was a cul-de-sac that was put in, what was that?
Yeah.
A little further up,
Is
A little further up?
Yeah, you're almost to it.
keep
Keep
going,
going.
keep going.
Over here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's something similar to this, so this kind of comes in and just, there's only one point of ingress egress.
Yeah.
And then you got this one serving 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the same number of lots that he's proposing.
And in a
Doesn't
few
Harlan
years,
live
we're
over
gonna
there?
have to go with USG, because they're gonna,
What's that?
USG is gonna blast up in that area around there
Oh, yeah,
Are they?
they will, yeah.
within the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
That's all curb and, yeah, the street improvements are very nice in here, you know. I was like, went through there one day and looked at it, it's like, oh, this, not real nice. So you see this example that exists, you know, I mean, so, I don't know, we'll just have to let the reviewers take a look at it when it comes in.
Aren't there a couple of cul-de-sacs like that up at, Country Club?
Yeah, where they go in and come out.
Yeah.
Exact same thing.
Yeah,
I guess as long as EMS, I would say like the school bus doesn't, I think the school bus just pick up at the end of the cul-de-sac and not.
They stop pretty much at every house kind of.
Yeah, I think they stop at every house, but yeah.
Both those got cul-de-sacs too, you know,
Yeah.
one point access.
I think the difference in that one, and obviously we'll see when they put in the application, is the, you know, that forethought of, you've got a whole nother piece of property right here, and I'm not sure who owns that property, but that opportunity for, I mean, if there was no more opportunity for development, that would be a different story, but where there is opportunity for additional development.
Right there, there's a small piece maybe get by and just make it, like you said, a road.
Yeah, you could take that Sherry Lane and you could
Straight through.
go straight through.
Yeah,
If these ones.
Yeah, when you start looking at it, I mean, whether it's temporary or permanent, I don't know if it's really gonna make that big of a difference. I mean, it's just. But, yeah, that Sherry Lane will come through somehow, you would think.
But if it's gonna be.
Maybe not. I mean, there's just so many different ways you could lay that out down there
But
too.
if you did a cul-de-sac with homes on the west and north side, you
Yeah.
limit the availability to have that road go through.
Right.
Oh, yeah, no, I know that too.
So it might be something to put in his ear, you know, saying, listen, if you just go and you stop your road here with the anticipation of extending it onto Sherry Lane one year or one day.
It'd be temporary cul-de-sac, yeah.
yeah.
Engineer will pipe in and take a look at that. Yeah.
Interesting. That's nice. That's nice. Well, I'm glad you've got that coming up. I mean, that's another positive sign.
Yeah, so we'll have the pre-app is scheduled Monday next week and see what happens, what comes out of that.
It was just really overgrown
It
trees.
was a lot of work.
Just to put it in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pull them all. We had some neighbors concerned, the ones that lived behind them. Was about vehicle.
I
Yeah, the
thought-
ones that had the trees there for years, like that privacy.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I sold a calf to
It's
somebody
gotta
there
go.
on that
I
front
mean, there's
row,
this Open area. So, yeah.
and they had like a little barn area, and they bought a calf from us, and I thought they had a horse or something.
Yeah, there was a guy there for years.
Yeah.
Sold the cabin all over there.
Yeah, he's down a little
Down
from,
a little.
right on that area. Yeah.
I think he bought that place from that guy that used to
Okay.
have a horse. He had like a horse. or
Yeah.
two with a little.
Yeah, it's not there, it's not.
Yeah. That's all gone.
All right, Jeff, anything else from you?
Nothing else, thanks.
I just, I'm gonna be real quick, because I know folks wanna go and I wanna go. At our last meeting, we talked real briefly about, wanting to talk to maybe some of our lenders and see if we can make that process a little easier for these non-conformings. And I was thinking about it, years and years ago when we made some changes to allow for the 1 to 2 acre. As long as it had a tree line, and as long as it had a, you know, we set that up that somebody could go ahead and build on it. So we did it from our perspective of planning and zoning, not necessarily from a lender's perspective. And I don't know if you want to spend any time
We
with
having
that.
any issues? I mean, I haven't received any phone calls or emails from lenders with any issues or concerns.
Okay.
Have you, what's that?
Well, the previous rezoning case, they had to be zoned differently
In order to
in
get
order
their
to get their
loans.
loan.
Oh, that,
Stone burner.
oh, the stone burners, yeah.
And I guess,
They had some options, other options there too. I mean.
Yeah.
Doing some VA loans.
Mhm.
yeah, he was specifically looking at a VA loan. I
VA
thought.
loan and this, just somewhat unique in some ways, but
So
not
I,
uncommon. You
I,
know.
I don't know if that's something that, I'm curious to talk to a lending institution, or a couple of lending institutions, and just say what, you know, what. we made those changes in planning zoning, so those lots wouldn't necessarily be non-conforming. But obviously to a lender, they're gonna show up as non-conforming.
Are they
So
grandfathered in or?
that's what I'm wondering is what
Why
is,
do they consider them non-conforming? That's what I don't understand. I mean, they can. They would conform to our code requirements, but why would they consider them non-conforming to some type of lending standard?
if you had out in the middle of a bunch of A1 ground,
Okay, yeah.
a 3 acre piece. Gravel road goes this way and there's a little 3 acre piece and it's got trees and it's got a well and it's got all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And the bank's gonna look at it and go, well, we're not gonna loan on that because it,
Too close to agriculture or something.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, I just wanna make sure that that's not an issue. I don't want it to be an issue. And if there's things that we need to do, or, I'd like to have that
Yeah.
discussion with lenders and say, what is it that's making you say no? And how do we fix that problem before it comes up?
I think his specific problem was he wanted to do this VA loan, he wasn't open to other loan products. And that's my understanding. And so,
And I think so too, some lenders, they look at it and they look at like on Beacon, it might be zoned commercial,
Exactly.
but it's for tax purposes, it's really not commercial.
And that's.
Yeah, so I like the idea of reaching out to lenders, but I think a lot of our underwriters here, they're not necessarily local. It's all gonna be at a higher end, and they're private entities that they're not gonna make changes. I mean,
Maybe it's smart just to start with the VA, because that's a very good
yeah,
product for somebody that has
Mhm.
served.
Sure.
And maybe we start there and then say, hey, what are your stipulations for
Mhm.
this? And then say, okay, now let's go to US Bank and see what they say, or, something like that.
Well, that's what made me think when you bring up Big Beacon is, if I'm the lending institution, then I'm just gonna pull it up on Beacon and it's like, well, it's not conforming. I'm not gonna loan this guy any money.
and because they're probably looking at different things on Beacon too, because there's different layers, like I can turn our zoning on here and you can see what it's zoned,
If there's
but
a-
then there's a tax
If
description.
there's an appraisal,
Mhm.
the appraiser puts in there what the zoning is, and they pay a lot of attention to that, the lenders do. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they've gotten burned, is the problem. They don't wanna be doing something illegal and then crap, who owns it, they do, so.
Oh, yeah,
But it's
ownership
important.
is, yeah.
So if there's an
Ownership's
appraisal,
Definitely an
the
issue.
appraiser puts in there what the zoning is, good, bad, or ugly, or whatever, but.
I'm just throwing that at you, Jeff, if that's something, if you think that we need
yeah,
to
I can think about it.
research, or, I'm more than happy to do a little research on it. I guess it,
Go
it's,
ahead if you want. I mean, I just see it more of a it's more of a private issue.
okay.
That's how I see it, and how it gets worked out.
Are we wanting to encourage like old abandoned building sites to be cleaned up a little bit, and new buildings going there, new house going there? Type thing in the county?
We had, what, 3 abandoned
No, we
or
had-
dilapidated
had
structures?
8. Well, so we can talk about dilapidated structures a little bit. That might be with us going out and looking, she's on a lot more than I am, but there's probably maybe a couple dilapidated, what I call dilapidated structures on paved roads still in the county. But we went after some ones that were on gravel roads, last summer.
And one that
Probably
was
about-
right off
Probably
Highway
about,
7.
yeah, probably about 10 of them.
Mhm.
And I'd say a good half of them have already taken care of the
Mhm.
problem by removing the structures, and we're still working with
I
the
think-
rest of them, but yeah, it's,
Yeah,
the
when I,
ones that were more traveled and more visible,
Yeah.
were those ones we tackled first, and now yeah, but they're pretty ratty, it's like,
Yeah.
these have to. these
and I
really should
send
be
them,
come back.
whenever I'm out, I think I'm a little bit more,
Yeah,
let's get them, let's tear it down,
yeah,
than you are, so I send them everything.
Well, and that's the point, I guess, is that if we've got those properties and there's a couple of questions that come up for me is, obviously one, how did it end up being a dilapidated property? Well, I couldn't sell it because nobody could build on it,
Oh.
and it's got the criteria that we made changes for.
yeah, and it would, yeah,
But
so
but
if they
the
want,
lender's not gonna lend on
Well,
it,
if they- maybe they don't
that's what I'm
wanna-
trying to figure out where,
but, yeah,
how-
maybe they
how
don't.
does that
Yeah,
happen?
maybe they don't wanna build on it, maybe they don't wanna parcel it out and sell it, there's a lot of other different things, so the factors that go into it too, but.
Mhm.
You are seeing a lot of people that are attracted to those types of parcels though recently, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've noticed that over the time I've been here, it's like a lot of people.
I just got asked about it.
Yeah,
so,
they,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
So we work with them and, make sure that the density's there and everything checks out and it works and.
Well, with that last rezone, the gentleman, obviously, for the reasons of the rezone, really wanted to build and be there and everything, and it just made me wonder, I think when somebody made the comment that, that's one we knew about, how many are happening that we don't know about? How many guys are getting turned down and just saying, well, there's nothing I can do, cause, there's no way I'm gonna get it rezoned.
Yeah, they don't think about coming to us.
Yeah, yeah. And so my question then is to the lenders of, what can we do ahead of time so we don't get to that point? I want to try to make that work a little bit. So if
Yeah, I
board's
just.
okay, I mean, I don't mind asking a few questions.
No, and those are all good questions. I mean, I haven't had really anybody pressure me like I need to build here and.
Yeah,
I really don't like telling a lot of people no. I'd rather work with them in some way or fashion to make it,
Exactly.
how can we think outside the box but still comply with the zoning ordinance?
that's exactly what that's
Yeah,
where I was
so,
going with it, is
yeah.
how do we,
How do we make it
obviously
work?
not ask them to
Yeah.
make changes to their rules, but how do we make it fit? So it works for them, especially with the VA. How do we make it
Yeah.
a better
that's all,
thing for the VA to see where they will loan to this veteran?
Well, unless it too is a conversation that needs to be had with us and the lenders, like, you come to them, they say, no, we're not doing it. But if you go to the planning and zoning and have it rezoned, then it's a different conversation. So maybe just kind of educating the lenders too, that there is a possibility to rezone it. This is just the process.
They're
Until,
just doing their job, saying.
Exactly.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
But like you said, not a lot of people going to Citizens Community Bank.
Exactly, they're going-
to
Mhm,
a bank, like a bank in Arizona.
mhm. They're getting what can finance them,
A
so
lot
if it's on
lots
a
are
national.
sold, just.
Yeah, they're out of, my loans are clearly.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
Sign here.
mhm.
So are the lending institutions? I wonder if it's more instead of educating all the lending institutions to go to someone like Kesterson or someone, some of those that are
Yeah.
doing some of that
Yeah, and
stuff
that's-
before to
Mhm.
say. If you have somebody reach out and are doing this, before we say, no, we can't do it.
Yeah.
If you would bring it to Jeff's attention or whatever, there might be something we could do on it.
Yeah.
But instead, like I said, I don't think you're gonna get Wells Fargo.
No.
No.
They
No.
don't care, but if you could get somebody locally to say, we'll at least reach out.
Mhm.
I do know with VA loans from friends that they're very strict on
Mhm.
everything that goes
This
into it.
VA loan wasn't fixable. It was a definite shut off because of the zoning then, was it, or?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
That's what I
There's
think.
some little hang up there, yeah,
Yeah.
we wanted him to, we put out all the options before we went to the rezoning case.
Yeah.
One was to have
Put
can
it
we make
back
it
in.
can we make it a mother-in-law apartment and keep it on the same parcel?
I see.
And so you have two single-family homes and
Maybe the VA said no to
Yeah.
that.
I see. I see.
they didn't like that concept or.
Yeah.
So.
And,
it's
and
like-
those are the kinds of things that I'd like to know ahead of time and just say, okay, what's the red flag for you guys and Kesterson, that's a good idea, what red flags do you guys see? And is there anything other than doing a whole bunch of rezoning, spot rezoning, which y'all know I
Yeah.
hate?
Mhm.
But I mean, is there anything we can do to help folks out so that they don't get to that point and if they don't feel that this piece of property, this little 4 acres here is right out in the middle of A1, there's no way I'm gonna get, But if we could get that worked around where they could build, they could buy the property, they could become a property tax asset. Why not?
And I sometimes go to PRIA meetings. I don't exactly know what PRIA stands for. It's something that I've been going to. Lindsay Lofsweiler invited me. It's a lot of realtors and lenders. And when I took over, basically I went to say, you're selling a house, have the septic system looked at before you put it on the market. But they appreciate the education. So I mean, if that's something that you do want me to bring up at the PRIA meetings, I have no problem doing, hey, this is the rezoning process. If you have a client who's interested in something, make sure.
That's what I was just thinking about. That's. a
Yeah,
different idea.
probably a
Yeah.
realtor involved.
There's quite a few realtors
Yeah,
that go to that.
And they probably don't even think about that.
They don't, and especially like, I know me with the septic systems, they don't think about it. They call me, hey, we're closing on Friday, we need it inspected. Hey, it failed, what do we do?
Yeah.
Well, you need a new system in, so you're not closing on Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they supposed to go to classes about that stuff too?
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. So, what kind of feedback or what else, what other magic can you work, Jeff, as opposed to just rezoning things? In this case, it worked out really good because we had the A2 nearby. I'm concerned, my concern is that one case where there isn't the A2 nearby. And how do we help that person and how do we, try to
Yeah.
utilize that?
They
Could
were
they go
lucky-
by,
They were lucky they had, some low CSR directly adjacent that would lend itself to an A2, you
Yeah.
could justify it that way, but yeah, all of a sudden you have something out in the middle of no man's land.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but
But on that, if it's out there and we know it at 50 years ago, 100 years ago was a home site,
oh, no, yeah,
can't that be grandfathered?
yeah,
in
there's
some
ways,
way
there's
that,
some ways to work
you
it
know,
out. Yeah.
And
it has an
and we did
existing
that.
well?
Yeah.
We did that,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's the
right.
lending institutions that aren't necessarily looking at our rules saying, oh, yeah, okay, we can
Yeah.
work with that. The lending institutions are the ones that it sounds like are the stumbling block. And so that's what I'm wondering, if there's any way that we can make, where we made those changes and said, look, if you've got a tree line, if you've got an old well, if you've got whatever.
But see, I haven't come across any problems from people on that, though. I
Okay.
mean, but, yeah, you're right, it's all about that due diligence that they need to do, to get all their ducks in a row before they even maybe even purchase it. Even if they don't own it, it's like, hey, gotta make sure.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt, like you said, to bring it up with the realtors and just say, if somebody has this problem in the future, reach out to us and or like you say, reach out to Kesterson and just say, if this is something that you guys are seeing or see, or before you say, no, you can't do anything, maybe at least just reach out to us and see if there's an alternative. But like you said, if it's one in the last couple of years, maybe it's not that big of an issue, but
It could just be that one where there could have been 30 of them, but nobody knew better to come to it.
Yeah, that's my fear, is that were there others that we didn't know about
I
that?
think if more people are aware of that, you're gonna see more people that are gonna try to pick up these abandoned acreages. 'Cause there's a lot of people that just wanna live out of town. They do.
Oh, yeah,
And they can't get them,
which.
Well, this rezoning case that's gonna come up again, low CSR, he wants to split it, and, it's on a paved road, and it's like, yeah, I get it, I mean, there's no, it's all treed, the whole 40's treed, it's always, yeah, so.
Not to change the subject, do you have any trouble with landowners dividing off property that's not legally zoned? Do you- You're into parcels that are,
No, they'd have to, the proper zoning needs to be in place, yeah, I mean, especially if they wanna build.
yeah,
Yeah, so, when they subdivide off, they can go out and subdivide anything.
Okay.
And then to go record it and not come back to me, and all of a sudden it's like, you're right, it doesn't meet the district requirements in terms of
yeah.
lot frontage or lot area, or
How
whatever,
do you
and it's
stay
like,
ahead of that?
you don't.
you don't,
You
I mean,
can't.
we tried, I mean,
We-
God bless Lindsay,
Yeah.
we wanted to see everything,
Yeah,
that, if you see anything that's being recorded,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
suspicious for us,
Yeah.
But you,
send them back over to us before
Right,
they
right.
record
but
it,
she has a legal obligation too, if somebody wants something recorded,
just to record.
she has to do it,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
always my fear. They go out, and they do
Yeah.
this, and it's like, oh, wait, and then they come back and they
Yeah.
want to get a building permit.
Yeah.
It's like,
Because really, it's not shady, like Jeff said, you can go out and carve up and record whatever you want, there's
Yes.
nothing,
Yeah,
but if they don't know, you need what, minimum 2 acres or
you need road
what have you,
frontage
you
and
need
who
road
knows,
frontage, yeah.
and you need this, that, and everything, and you gotta have the right zoning, and there's all kinds
Yeah.
of things, yeah, so.
didn't we just go that route over by Colville? And that's the thing, is it trying to keep this, friendly and trying to keep it positive, trying to look like, yeah, in Webster County, yep, that's the place to go. We want people looking, we want you want the dilapidated buildings gone, you want a nice home put in there. And that last rezone case
Yeah.
just made me kind of wonder, is there something we can do other than rezoning? Because there's gonna be that one piece of property that's gonna end up out in the middle of A1 that it is just not gonna
Well,
be.
yeah, and you're right, I mean, we wanna see growth in the rural area
Yeah.
where it's appropriate, and I think that's all part of the comp plan, if it makes sense, it's appropriate, let's make it work, so.
All right, well, thank you. I may,
Yeah, thank
may
you.
do some looking into that, if that's all right.
No, that's good.
Okay. Well, unless anyone has anything else, I'll
See you
ask
next
for,
month.
I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion? All right, and do I have a second? Sorry, second, okay. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.